Hey folks, before we talk about what's coming up, let's first review what happened yesterday into last night. The storm we've been tracking for a while came through and dropped the expected amount of snow. In Minneapolis, we saw anywhere from 5 to 8 inches of snow in the Twin Cities area. Over near Eau Claire, they received around 7 inches. How about you in Green Bay, up to 8 inches of snow there? Across Wisconsin, there was a thin corridor of decent snow accumulation, and even thinner in northern Michigan. Over in Cadillac, Michigan, 7 inches of snow was recorded. The real hotspot was in the Northeast. I think the heaviest snow totals were a little farther north than we expected. For example, Boston saw about 14 inches, Spa, New York, and Portland ended up with around a foot of snow. Many places in Vermont and New Hampshire also received over 8 inches of snow. In Boston, I've received reports of 5 to 6 inches, and it's still snowing as I'm filming this. So I think we'll end up with around 6 to 8 inches in the greater Boston area, which is exactly what we expected. In the New York City metro area, there was 3 to 4 inches of snow, but that was quickly erased by the warmth that followed. One area that definitely saw less snow than I anticipated is Western Massachusetts and parts of Connecticut, where many locations only saw 3 to 4 inches. So if anyone missed out on this storm, it's those areas. All right, storm number 1 is out of the way. Now let's start thinking about the next one. Storm number 2 is really going to start showing itself around February 11th. We've got a slight risk of a significant winter storm in areas like West Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, and parts of Kansas. Let's take a look at how this will unfold. Watch as wintry precipitation rapidly expands from Kansas through the Ohio Valley early on Tuesday, February 11th. It'll be snowing in Kansas, Denver, and St. Louis. Lightly though. This won't be a huge blizzard. We're also expecting wintry precipitation from Missouri all the way down into the mountains of North Carolina and Virginia. That could turn into a significant sleet and freezing rain event in southwestern Virginia later in the day on Tuesday. Heavier snow will set up along the Popeye 64 corridor from West Virginia to northern Virginia, while heavy rain will hit areas south of that like Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi. Get ready for thunderstorms and heavy rain, especially on Wednesday morning. Some of the heavier snow will move into the D.C., Baltimore, and Delaware areas, and that will be our second storm. But before this one is even out of the way, we've got another significant winter storm to keep an eye on forming back in the plains. We'll talk about that shortly, but first let's discuss the snow totals from this first storm through Wednesday morning. I think Kansas will pick up about 1 to 3 inches of snow, even into Nebraska. Some places might get over 3 inches before it's all said and done. Some of this will also be the beginning of the next storm. On Tuesday, expect 1 to 2 inches, but it will keep snowing into Wednesday as the next storm develops. We're looking at a general trace of snow across Missouri, including places like St. Louis, but I don't expect much snow there. The same goes for Lexington, Cincinnati, and Louisville, maybe an inch or so. Snow totals will be a bit more impressive in the mid-Atlantic, with northern Virginia expecting 2 to 4 inches. I think Washington, D.C. will see 2 to 4 inches as well, and Toms River, New Jersey can expect the same. While this won't be a major winter storm, it was looking that way a few days ago. But as we get closer, it seems like this will be a quick hit snow event. One thing to watch out for, though, is the ice expected just south of the heaviest snow totals, particularly in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. Especially in the mountains of Southwest Virginia, we could see over a 1/4 inch of ice accumulate by Wednesday morning, which could lead to hazardous travel and power outages. So get ready for that. Now, let's talk about the new storm number 2, which I believe will probably be the most impactful of this series. There's a 40% probability of significant winter precipitation from eastern Kansas all the way up through Missouri, Illinois, Chicago, Detroit, and even Indianapolis. This area stretching up to southern Ontario has a really good chance of experiencing a widespread major winter storm between February 13th and 14th. Let me show you what this looks like. As our quick-moving storm exits the East Coast, this much larger storm will form over here. possibly with a small severe weather aspect in Texas that we need to monitor. But mostly we're looking at heavy snow in Kansas extending into southern Iowa. This will develop into a traditional mid-latitude cyclone that will deepen rapidly as it moves up the eastern side of the United States. That means anyone on the cold side of the storm will get heavy precipitation, snow, sleet, and ice. Anyone on the southern side will experience thunderstorms and heavy rain. Right now, it looks like Chicago is almost certain to get significant snow. Places like Indianapolis, Detroit, and Cleveland could also get a lot of snow, but because we're close enough to the center of the low pressure system, some warm air could mix in, causing snow to turn into sleet or freezing rain. We'll have to keep an eye on that. The same could be said for St. Louis. The farther north this system goes, the more likely it is that warm air will bring rain into our northeastern cities, which means this storm looks more like a Midwest and Great Lakes snowstorm than a Northeast snowstorm. After this one exits, storm number 3 is already forming along the West Coast with another atmospheric river in California. Get ready for lots of snow in the Sierra Nevada as we head into February 13th and 14th, followed by significant snow in eastern Utah and western Colorado through Valentine's Day. This system will then move over the Intermountain West, meeting up with Gulf moisture and developing into another storm on the East Coast. Looking ahead to the February 15th to 16th timeframe, there's a 20% probability of a winter storm across much of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast. So we've got no shortage of active winter weather to talk about in the next week, and I'm not sure it's going to stop after that. Here's the national blend of models showing how much snow we could see across the U.S. over the next 200 hours. This is, of course, an estimate, and not all of this snow will fall at the same time. It shows over a foot of snow in Chicago, but that's from 2 or 3 different storms. I just wanted to point out where the heaviest snow is likely to fall over the next week. If you're anywhere in the blues, purples, or pinks, make sure you're ready for the snow that's coming. In the higher elevations of the Rockies, Cascades, and Sierra Nevada, some places could pick up nearly 80 inches of snow over the next 7 days. As we've been talking about, it's not just snow we need to worry about. On the warm side of the storm, there will be thunderstorms and heavy rain. It's still too early to discuss the specifics of potential severe weather, but we'll talk about that as we get closer to the storms. One thing's for sure, we're going to get a lot of rain from Louisiana up through Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. I'm especially concerned about Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville, and areas in northwest Georgia, which are flood prone, especially in the foothills of the Appalachians. We could see a ton of rain in a short amount of time, so if you live in a flood prone area, prepare for flash flooding. This is a long duration event, so if some of these areas get 8, 9, or even 10 inches of rain, it could lead to larger stream and river flooding, not just flash flooding. So prepare for all of this, especially if you live in an area with a lot of peaks and valleys, because this kind of rain is tough to handle. That's all the weather I have for you today. Things are getting interesting, and I'll have another update for you tomorrow. I really think that this next storm, the one that moves from Kansas into the Midwest through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, will likely meet our criteria for a live broadcast. It definitely looks like it will be a major winter storm, and I'm preparing to potentially go live on Wednesday. We're now in a locked weather pattern, everyone, where for the next 10 days at least, cold temperatures are coming down, bringing negative temperatures as well as very cold wind chills and freezing temperatures, even as far south as the southern part of the lower 48. This pattern is going to last for a while, bringing multiple snowstorms. We are now tracking 4 storms, not just 3. Starting tomorrow night, storms will begin to build up. This is Central Time. By early Tuesday morning, we'll start to see a transition from these storms into snowfall across southern Illinois and southern Indiana. There will be heavy snow bands moving across, and northern Kentucky will get a very narrow strip of heavy snow that will reach all the way to southern Ohio. As we move into Tuesday afternoon, the snow will continue through West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, but this is where freezing rain will also begin to fall. Freezing rain and sleet could extend from Roanoke all the way past Richmond and further north. with heavy snowfall continuing. This snowstorm will be the smallest of the four, but it will still be strong with very heavy snowfall rates that will continue until Tuesday night. By then, the storm will move across New Jersey and further east, bringing heavy snow into Wednesday morning. Now, let's talk about temperatures. This locked pattern is going to remain in place until the early 20s, just as I mentioned this morning, all the way until February 23rd. Below average temperatures will dominate the eastern side of the U.S., and this will bring extremely cold temperatures. I've provided the outlook for this period from February 17th to 23rd, which shows the strongest below average temperatures across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast. This means negative temperatures in single digits will extend to the Ohio Valley, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Freezing temperatures will also reach as far south as the southern states. You can see this in both the Euro and GFS models, which show the trend from February 9th through the 22nd and 23rd. We're locked into this cold pattern for the next 10 days. The cold air gets trapped in the stratosphere, pushing down deeper into the U.S. It will stay there until the early 20s before potentially moving north again. By February 24th, the cold air should still be present, but slightly less intense. The GFS model shows a deeper pattern with lower temperatures in the teens and low 20s. Let's get this video to 500 likes. I think we can do it. And very importantly, please share this video with your family and friends on social media. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.